So defund police, yes or no?
Absolutely not.
No.
Do you consider yourself pro-choice or pro-life?
Pro-life.
Pro-life.
I'm pro-choice.
Should there be a minimum wage? If so, what should it be?
Yes, there should.
Probably, I mean, where it is now is fine. I wouldn't raise it.
Hi, I'm MARIEL GARZA. I'm the Deputy Editorial Page Editor of the Los Angeles Times. Myself, along with other opinion writers and editors, spoke earlier this month with Governor Gavin Newsom and the leading candidates, 1 Democrat and 4 Republicans, hoping to replace Newsom in the September 14 recall election. Here's some of what they had to say. So first, we have conservative radio host Larry Elder, who's leading in the polls. We asked him to explain how he would lead a state that is overwhelmingly Democratic.
And a lot of the positions that you've outlined during your campaign, including on abortion rights, including on social policy and the welfare state, as you put it, including on everything from smoking to climate change to COVID-19, seem to be at odds with, the liberal direction this state has taken. How would you've shown that you can galvanize people who already agree with you. How would you actually reach out to those who do not?
Only some of the things you just now mentioned have anything to do with this recall election. The only one that really does is COVID, and I don't believe I'm out of step with the Californians on COVID. I think most people, primary reason that this man is being recalled is because of the hypocritical way he proposed mandates while at the French Laundry, sitting there with the very people who helped draft those mandates, not wearing masks and not engaging in social distancing. I think that his kids who enjoyed in-person private education while shutting down in-person schooling for Californians really angered a lot of people. If you look at the polls, inner city Black and brown parents support choice in school. The teachers union, the largest funder of Gavin Newsom, does not support choice in school. I believe that I'm going to be able to not only galvanize people on the right, but also independents and Democrats who want choice in education. I can't think of anything more important than making sure that your kids get a competent high school education, one where when the kids do graduate, they can read, write, and compute at grade level. The first step towards leaving poverty is to finish high school, according to a study by the Brookings Institution. So for all those reasons, I believe that I'm going to be able to galvanize Californians, whether they're Democrats, whether they're independents, and whether they're Republicans.
If you don't mind my asking a personal question, have you as an African-American man ever been stopped by the police?
Wow. As you as an Asian man, have you ever been stopped by the police?
I haven't actually, and I think one reason I haven't is that
You've never been stopped by the police in your life?
I actually haven't, and that's why I'm asking bona fide. I think if I were Black, I would be stopped more often. I really do.
Well, the answer is I don't know anybody who hasn't been stopped by the police. You're the only one I think I know of in my life who's ever said he's never been stopped by the police. I don't know. Maybe you have a halo around you or something. Everybody I know has been stopped by the police. I have been stopped by the police many times, especially when I first got my driver's license. I looked young. I had a growth spurt, but at the time when I was driving, my eye level was so low, I looked like a child. And for the first year, I was stopped probably by the police, I would say, and I'm not exaggerating this, between 75 and 100 times. And every time I did what my father told me to do, which was to make sure my left hand was at 10 o'clock, my right hand was at 2 o'clock, make sure I said yes, sir, or no, sir, make sure my paperwork was in order, and nothing happened to me. I think some of these so-called civil rights leaders and so-called people who are activists should tell people, be polite, comply. Jacob Blake could have been avoided had he complied. Eric Garner could have been avoided had he complied. Michael Brown could have been avoided had he complied. Most of these high-profile shootings and deaths could have been avoided if the person stopped simply had complied. I would urge people to comply.
We also spoke with Kevin Faulconer. He's the former Republican mayor of San Diego, which is the state's second largest city. He says he's a moderate and able to work across party lines to address the state's biggest needs, such as affordable housing.
I'm a big believer, particularly when it comes to where we're going to construct housing, that we need density next to our transit and jobs. That is where we want people. That's where I think you will get the biggest bang for your buck. And I've also been pretty outspoken that that's what smart growth is. Smart growth is not going into and changing all of your single family zoning. That just doesn't work. So yes, I think there's an absolute room for increased density along our transit zones. That's what our complete communities plan in San Diego was all about. We looked at all of our major arterials, our transit corridors, our trolley system. And I said, let's do this. And as I said, again, we got unanimous approval that raised the capacity for 100,000 units. I've also been a very outspoken advocate for comprehensive immigration reform. We have to fix immigration at the federal level because it's broken. It's broken not just in California, it's broken all across the southwest border, but then that means it's broken for all of us. And so, as somebody who has supported DACA, I'm going to continue to advocate that. And as governor, I will continue to advocate for comprehensive immigration reform, because if we don't, we're going to continue to see the same issue year after year after year after year. We have to have it once and for all.
Should there be a minimum wage? If so, what should it be?
Yes, there should. I've been concerned in the past about how quickly it has been rising in terms of automatic, but I will tell you, of course, we need a minimum wage in California.
Do you believe, now I understand that you don't think the US is a racist country, but do you believe that there is implicit or inherent, or it is implicit bias, and structural racism in this state that needs to be dealt with?
Racism exists and you have to root it out. I do not believe, as you correctly said, that our country is a racist country.
Republican businessman John Cox ran against Newsom unsuccessfully in the 2018 election. He's back this year, and his positions haven't changed too much, such as his plan to address climate change.
I would encourage more drilling and fracking for natural gas and oil.
In California.
In California,
Okay.
because it produces jobs, it produces revenue, but more importantly, it would produce clean burning natural gas. I realize we have to control methane. Methane is a very serious greenhouse gas. There's no energy that's ever going to be perfect. Everything is about risk versus rewards. But we need an abundance of energy in the world. There's no question that we've got millions of people in China and India that are demanding energy, and they're willing to burn coal like crazy, even though it's polluting the rest of the world. China doesn't have stores of natural gas like we do. It's just a fact. We have the natural gas. We burn off almost as much natural gas as we use in this country. Get it developed, ship it over to China and India, and I think everybody wins in that situation.
So you would roll back all COVID restrictions that the governor and his health departments have sort of imposed right now or recommended right now?
I would urge people to get vaccinated. I think getting everybody vaccinated is absolutely the essential thing. And I would certainly do what I could to get people to get vaccinated. And I'd also, again, I think it's a measure of a lack of trust that people have in their politicians. I don't know if you saw the statistic today, something like 45% of firefighters are vaccinated, are firefighters. Now, why are 55% of firefighters not vaccinated?
But Terry's question was, would you roll back the orders that the governor?
I would certainly not mandate vaccines, and I would not mandate masks.
So if you don't want to mandate it, you would have to roll it back. Would you do that?
Yeah. Yes, I
would. Okay, that's good. Thanks. Republican Assemblyman Kevin Kiley is the only leading recall candidate currently holding elective office. He says his legislative experience makes him best able to jump into the governor's job, and that he's hyper-focused on California's issues.
The theme of my campaign is about restoring integrity to our state government and, returning the government to the people of our state. I think that I've seen in my time here that the core problem with our state government is it does not serve the public interest. It's completely dominated by special interests and lobbyists known collectively as the third house around the Capitol that provide the vast majority of political funding in the state and completely control the agenda here. Gavin Newsom embodies that more than anyone else. It's been true since before COVID with, for example, his subservience and an extraordinary, the benefits he's received for funding he's received from PG&E. It was clear in his war on charter schools. It was clear in his signing and ruthlessly enforcing AB5. And then it was taken to whole new heights in the COVID era, where he used extraordinary emergency powers in this moment of vulnerability from the pandemic to take that corruption to new levels.
Kevin, who was the legitimate winner of the 2020 federal presidential election?
I don't delve into national politics at all. I mean, the Electoral College voted, and that's how the president is determined who has the powers of the presidency in our system.
Do you believe that the election was stolen or rigged?
I don't delve into national politics. Nice try. This is what Gavin Newsom likes to do, is to make it about anything other.
As Kevin, I'm not, you have to delve into national politics.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm not trying to carry water for the Democratic Party. We're an independent editorial board.
Why do you think that it's been so long since a Republican has won a statewide office? Is that a failing of the party? Is it a failing of the voters? What do you take from that?
That's a good question. I think that, yeah, it is a failing of the party in a lot of ways. I think that in the past, the state Republican Party has not been an effective opposition party. I think it's been, wrapped up in a lot of the same problems as the Democratic Party, to be honest with you. The culture of corruption at our Capitol is certainly not limited to one party, although it's, probably, it's amplified among those who hold the levers of power. And that has been especially true as Gavin Newsom has claimed sort of absolute power. It's like absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Kevin Paffrath is a real estate social media influencer with almost 1.7 million YouTube followers. And he's the closest thing to a prominent Democrat on recall's replacement candidate ballot. He's got some pretty far out ideas for the state should he win, such as underground traffic tunnels and Las Vegas style casinos.
Quick outline. We want to fully legalize all in-person and online gambling. We know we have to work with our tribal communities to make this happen. I've already spoken with quite a few tribal communities. What we want to do is we want to make, all of my plans are designed to be win-win for everyone. We want to grow the opportunity to build casinos throughout the state of California. So if we can say, hey, tribal communities, you can build 2 casinos here, and Wynn Resorts, you can come build a casino here, whatever. We would love that California becomes a destination just like Las Vegas is.
Do you think that Gavin Newsom should be recalled?
I do.
If so, why?
Absolutely. I'll tell you why. The first thing that bothers me is on fires, Governor Gavin Newsom misled Californians. We know that because NPR exposed him and said that he overstated wildfire prevention efforts by 690%. Number 2, we know that Governor Gavin Newsom is completely willing to mislead us on rent relief. He mentions that of the $5.2 billion that we have for rent relief money, we got all of this money because California is roaring back, and therefore we can give it back to Californians. 2 problems with this statement. Number 1 is 4.8 of that $5.2 billion, so 92% of it, actually came from the federal government via Trump and Biden stimulus plans, the $600 and $1,400 stimulus packages. On top of that, he's had this money since December and February. And as of the last reading last month, only 6% of that rent relief money has gone out to renters in a COVID rent emergency. The reason we have this eviction crisis issue pending in national politics is because states led by people like Governor Gavin Newsom are failing to get that rent relief money out. But then, of course, we know the hypocrisy of the French Laundry, but I'm not even going to go there because I'm sure you already know about it. The other thing I think is hypocritical is that when Governor Gavin Newsom was running, he said he would end the high-speed rail. Now he's all for expanding the high-speed rail. I think this is hypocritical. I think it's wrong. I think it's what we have is an example of somebody who's willing to change the rules for his favor. And this was perfectly exemplified in his lawsuit against his own Secretary of State for a deadline that he signed into law that he missed. Why run against the party? It's because the party's making a horrible mistake not picking a backup option. I don't know if I said this example before, sorry if I sound redundant, but I really believe the party not selecting a backup option is literally like a child saying, Mommy, if I can't have candy for lunch, I'm just not going to eat. Here's what's happening. We know that the California legislature has never had this much power on the Democratic side. They have 72 to 75% of the power. That means they can overrule any gubernatorial veto. So all the Republicans who think, oh, we can veto whatever the Democrats do, yeah, right. It's not going to happen. The legislature will run this state for the next year if a Republican gets in, all the way through the 2022 election when the Democrats seek to restore a Democrat. And I kind of think in a weird, like sabotage style way, the Democratic Party is saying, we don't mind. Look, we're going to go no on recall, no backup option. If we can't have what we want, then we're going to starve ourselves for a year until the 2022 election when we can have a Democrat back, which I think that sabotages Californians. I think it's a horrible thing to squander a year.
We gave Governor Newsom an opportunity to respond to the mountain of criticism by the recall candidates and to tout his accomplishments over the past 2.5 years. Here's some of what he had to say.
But one thing I'm particularly proud of is that this state has outperformed states like Texas and Florida and Indiana, the United States, not only in terms of health outcomes during this pandemic, but also in terms of economic outcomes. The economy in the state of California in the last 5 years is the fastest growing economy of all Western democracies. Western democracies, a 21% GDP. The GOP understands GDP. I'm proud of the fact we're running an $80 billion operating surplus. Look, end of the day, we'll be judged on the last 18 months disproportionately. I'm not naive about that. And there's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of businesses, including my own, have been impacted and hurt. And a lot of people don't feel they're part of that recovery. And a lot of people can't pay their rent, frustrated they haven't gotten their rent paid for, even though they're eligible for it, haven't gotten their utilities and water taken care of. And so we have a lot of work. They're scared about these wildfires, scared about this drought, are frustrated about homelessness and housing costs. And so those are pre-existing challenges. We got to hit those head on. And I just want you to know, we're just winding up. I've been in just 30 months. This last 18 months has been trying. We've been on a journey together. Well, Carla, let's level set. This homeless crisis predated the moment that I got sworn in as governor. The minute I got sworn in, I owned it. Difference is I took responsibility to actually do something, not just identify the problem, but to actually take responsibility. And with respect, the state had no homeless plan when I got there. That changed the first year I was in office. I took the entire state of the state in that second state of the state, the first week of my second year in office, to the issue of comprehensively laying out a vision to address the issue of homelessness and look at underlying issues and talk about it in historical terms. And then the pandemic hit. Now, I'm proud of the fact, even with the recession, a COVID-induced recession, that we did put an historic amount of money into homelessness, but it was a drop in the bucket. This year, we're talking about an order of magnitude change. Again, I've just been here for 2.5 years. That's not an excuse, but this is not my fourth term. It's not in my fourth year. And my job now, is to do the job that no prior governor's done. And that's to get serious about this issue. But here's the difference. Not only are we serious about it, we have a plan and we have unprecedented resources, $12 billion over the next few years.